Earl Johnson. Mayor, thanks once again for allowing WKNI to come into your office and chat with you a little bit about what's going on in the community.
Well,
All right. There's lots that's been going on, but it's kind of been moving slow but fast. Let's talk about some of the things that happened this winter, for example. It was unreal. I mean,
Yeah.
something that I have never seen in my lifetime.
well, it really was something really historic in the sense that we had some cold weather in January that we haven't seen the likes of in 20 years or longer in Andalusia. We had two different periods of 55 consecutive hours, two separate periods of that stretch where the temperature did not get above freezing. So, I mean, when it gets that cold and stays that cold for a continuous period of time, that's what makes people have to turn those thermostats up to stay warm, and so it puts a real stress on the system to provide the electricity. So our system was under stress, the Power South system was under stress, and it wasn't just us and Power South, it was all over the state of Alabama, all over the southeast, in fact. So we set some real high benchmarks as far as the amount of electricity that was used, and because we've had the last couple of winters have been sort of mild. Before 2014, 2013 was a mild winter, 2012 was a mild winter. The summer of 2013, remember, was a mild summer. We didn't have that much hot weather. So our residential business electric usage has been down in the sense that we've had mild weather and hadn't had to use it as much to cool and heat our homes and our businesses. So when then you have something like came along in January on the 9th, the 7th, and 8th, and then later in the month, and then some cold spikes along between those two. And people get their electric bills for that. They think, well, what happened here? Well, it all has to do with the amount of kilowatt hours that people use. And when they've been used to kind of having levelized bills, and then they get a month worth where the usage was up really high, it's sort of shocking, and people forget, well, gosh, if I look at the KWHs, how many of those kilowatt hours did I use? Now, let's say, for example, someone's used to using 12, maybe 1,200 or 1,300 kWh, kilowatt hours in a month, and they get a bill that's got 1,700 or 1,800 kilowatt hours on their bill, then it really makes that bill look out of kilter. But we have to buy the power to provide it to our customers, and we have to pay the provider, and so we can't. We're in the same fix. We got a high wholesale power bill that we have to deal with, and we have to charge for that.
Well, let's talk a little bit about that, because that came up as a on social pages as a point of reference from some individuals. But first and foremost, I'd like to bring out a very positive thing about this. There was absolutely no power outages in the city of Andalusia.
At zero power outages at a time when we had a historic high peak in demand. And a few years ago, that would not have happened. If we'd had that kind of demand on our system, we'd have had some outages. And the reason we didn't have them this time is because we have been trying to improve our system for the last 10 or 12 years. What we call it in the industry, heavying up the system, putting in new transformers, improving the substations, putting up heavier conductor and transformers and all that kind of stuff so that you can carry that heavy load when you have them. You don't need it all the time. If you have a few days where it's below freezing, or in the summertime when you have extremely hot temperatures, people are going to turn their air conditioners on, they're going to turn their heaters on in the wintertime. And that means that your system better be prepared to deliver that electricity to those customers. If they can't do that, it's just like putting too many plugs into a wall. It'll cause it to fail and go out and throw the breaker, and electricity will be gone. And so electrical system is really just a giant kind of a system that if you look at your home, it's very similar. We have a breaker box in our house where you go in and flip breakers to turn off certain circuits. Well, it's the same thing on our system, except they're not breakers, they're called substations. And if they're not big enough, and if they're not able to carry the load that it's serving, it'll do the exact same thing that a breaker will do in your home. It'll flip off and the lights go out and the heat goes off. And that's what we were so concerned about, and thank goodness we didn't have any of that happen.
Well, also, I believe it was your first term that within the city area itself, you took the infrastructure of the raised above ground electrical wires out of the picture and put them underground in most areas.
Well, in some areas, you can't afford to put all of your distribution system underground. It's too expensive, but along our main corridors, we have done that, and we hope to be able to continue to expand that and extend that in the future. And what that does is when you have ice storms, it doesn't impact you because your distribution system is underground. It's not going to get caked up and coated with ice and snow. We don't have that much ice and snow, but when you do have it,
well, we did have a lot of ice this time.
It could be devastating to your system and cause your lines to fall, cause trees to fall and over your lines and all that kind of stuff. So the more that you can get out of the path of that, the better off you are. And another aspect of that is to clear a right-of-way, work on a right-of-way so that you don't have a lot of overhanging branches and trees over your lines that are above ground. Because when those limbs fall or those trees fall, they're going to take your lines out, and then that causes outages. And like you say, we had the coldest January in 25 years this year, and we didn't have a single outage on the system.
Mayor, is there any special time of the year where, and I'm asking this, I know the answer, but is there any time during the year that, say, the utility company would automatically just want to double everybody's power bills in the middle?
Look, we don't raise rates unless it's pursuant to a study, recommendations by experts, all that. Our rates have not been raised in well over a year. So anybody that tells you that our rates were increased during this period of time just don't know what they're talking about. It has not happened. Our rates have been constant now for over a year.
There's no magic button that you can press and have these meters spin on extra kilowatt hours?
Of course not. It's all driven by the use that the customer is putting on the system. Let me point out for you, just as an example. We have a lot of homes that are heated by heat pumps. Heat pumps are very efficient within certain levels of temperature, but a heat pump will only, in the heating standpoint, will only change the temperature of your inside by 35 degrees above what it is outside. So, for example, if it's 60 degrees outside, theoretically you could warm your house up to 95 degrees, but by just the heat pump portion of it. If it's 50 degrees outside, you could heat it to 85. If it's 40 degrees outside, you could heat it to a comfortable 75 by using the heat pump part of the machine. That's where it takes air in from the outside, takes the heat out of the air, and returns the cold air to the outside, warms up your house or your business. The problem is a heat pump will only increase the temperature inside 35 degrees above what the outside temperature is. Well, if it's 40 degrees outside, that's okay. If it's 10 degrees outside, that's not okay, because then that means that you can only have a temperature of 45 degrees inside your house. So if you want to get it to 70, for example, you got to come up with 25 more degrees from somewhere to get it where it will be comfortable. How are you going to do that? Well, that heat pump inside of it has what is called heat strips. These are strips of metal that when the heat pump portion reaches its maximum efficiency, and it can't bring the temperature up any further, but you've got to have more heat because it's so cold outside. Those heat strips heat up with electrical power, and then it draws in that electrical power, and it's just like an oven. It's exactly like an electric oven. When you turn those units on, you can look in the oven, you see those things turn red hot. That's exactly what happens inside of a heat pump when the heat strips come on. The problem with that is you are really pulling down electricity, kWh, kilowatt hours when you're doing that. It's the most inefficient way to heat. In addition to that, a lot of people use space heaters, and space heaters are the exact same thing. They're just strip heaters. Very inefficient. Use a lot of electricity. Some people have strip heating along the baseboard of their house. That's all they have is strip heating run by electricity. Again, it's very inefficient. So, when the temperature goes down to 10 degrees, folks are going to turn their heaters on, and I understand that, but by the same token, they have to understand that it's a very inefficient way to heat. And there's a cost for that, and it's not because we monkey with the rates and increase them to take advantage of somebody, because we don't do that. Their rates, their bill goes up because they increase very significantly the amount of electricity that they use during that period of time.
So if they looked at their bill and looked at the KWH for, say, January of 2013, and look at the KWH for January 2014, there would certainly be a big difference. Should be.
You would expect that, unless there's some overriding reason why that would be pretty rare. But yes, go back and get your bill and look at your bill for January usage. Now, another thing we have to be careful about. People get billed behind what their bill comes to them after they use this power.
Right.
So what they used in January, they don't get billed for that until February. So they say, well, I hadn't used much power in February, but you're not getting billed for that. The bill that you have is you need to look at for when the service was delivered to you. That's when you have to say, well, what was the weather outside? What did it look like then? So we're always behind about a month when you get your bill. You're getting charged, you're getting billed for what you used 30 or 40 or 50 days ago.
So you could possibly be getting billed for January electricity usage in March.
Well, February, March. And that because all the bills don't go out at the same time, they're cycled out.
Right.
So you just have to look on your bill, and it'll show the period, usage period, and it tells you what days were on there. We have the capability now of showing someone exactly how much power they used every single day of the year.
Wow.
And all they have to do is call us or come see us, and we can pull it down and show them, all right, you used 100 kilowatt hours, 150 kilowatt hours on Tuesday. Remember when it got real cold for those 3 or 4 days? You used 300 kilowatt hours or 350 kilowatt hours every day. Well, that doesn't take too long to build up, and I'm just using those as hypothetical numbers. But the point is, we can look at everyone's bill and print them out, a printout that will show them exactly how, give them a graph and show them how they were going along here, and all of a sudden when it got cold, their usage shot up, and then it came back down when it warmed up, and it shot up again when it got cold. Same thing in the summer. It would go along when it gets real, real hot. People are going to turn the air conditioner, go up. So though we have the ability to do that, and we'd be glad to share that. When anybody has a question about it or would like to see it, we can do that for them.
Well, Mayor, we appreciate you going over the electrical, the utility end of it. Congratulations to the city employees and everybody that was out there doing the work, making sure that all that happened during that weather. It would be really bad if you had only electric for heating and you would have lost power during those days.
Well, I mean, exactly. I mean, it could be life-threatening.
Right.
If that's the only way you had to heat and cool or heat your home, and the temperature goes below freezing for 55 hours, that could be life-threatening.
Mayor, let's move on to another subject that seemed to get a lot of attention for a while, and you just seem to really be at a dartboard sometimes when it comes to some of the policies and decisions that are made. This tax incentive program that the city's had on the books for years, it's been an ordinance for a very long time. And it was brought out to light here just recently with the new restaurant that came to town, Zaxby's. And then again, this past week, we see it being utilized again for a local business again.
Right.
Can you tell us a little bit about that and how that's...
Sure. This is Again, what we're trying to do in Andalusia is to induce or attract new businesses, and particularly new retail businesses. And so, you know, you have to be competitive with your surrounding areas, and Zaxby's was a good example of that. They were actually, you know, we were actually competing with some other communities for that. This new business that we're talking about now is going in where the old Piggly Wiggly used to be, or the corner market that some people remember it being named. That was owned by the Williams family for many years. They went out of business a few months ago. Mr. King came to see us not too long after that and said, I'm interested in buying that property and you know, renovating that property and turning it into a major retail center, not only as a convenience store and gasoline station and diesel fuel station, but also a outdoor sporting goods facility, a meat market, a restaurant, and other things that he's got in store for that I don't even know about yet. You know, the place had been closed for several months and would continue to be closed until somebody came in and bought it and was willing to invest the money in that project and bring it back to life. And Mr. King wants to do that, and so he bought it. But first, he wanted to sit down and see what we could do to help him. Working with his bankers, working with his financial group, he is investing well over $1 million in that project over there. It's going to completely renovate the whole project, the whole property. So first off, one of our key requirements to take advantage of this tax rebate is you've got to make a major capital investment. So there it is, over $1 million. I consider major. It has to promise a significant amount of employment, and he thinks he's going to have between 30 and 40 jobs, depending on what time of the year it is and all that kind of stuff. Well, I consider that significant. And also, the location plays a part in this. Where is this business? Well, this one is in one of the major focal points of people coming into Andalusia or leaving Andalusia. It's one of the last things people see as they're leaving, one of the last businesses, and one of the first they see coming north and south out of Florida. So it met all of those criteria, and so we exercised the incentive to offer him a rebate of 2 cents of the sales tax for 5 years. And you know, you could do the arithmetic. If he grosses $1 million, how much that would be in a year, and how much it would be in 5 years. But what we were told by Mr. King was that by us doing that, it made the difference with his lender to make him the loan. That was the sort of the linchpin that had to be done and made the project possible.
Well, he seems to be very successful in a business just north of town right now. And that's been going on now for about a year or so, and I made a major investment out there as well.
He did, and this investment's even is significantly larger than that.
Well, just want to make sure everybody hears that as well, because there's good things that come out of these types of incentives.
Well, we took some heavy criticism about, well, you know, you only offering these incentives to people from outside of Andalusia coming into Andalusia. Well, no, this incentive was offered to someone local, one of our local business people who's here and been here. So it's not just the outside folks. We appreciate our local businesses, and we offer the same incentives to them that we do to business people looking to come into Andalusia for the very first time.
Mayor, there's a company that's been here now, I'm going to gather 6-7 years, and it's the out at the industrial park, and they've been bringing jobs in.
Yeah.
Yes, you said it before I did, I'm glad. But anyway, they've been a big partner in the community here for a long time. I understand that there's even more growth and possibilities coming along.
Yes, President Herr, who is the the present CEO of Say Hey Sung is in town this week, and met with us and told us that he has plans for significant future investment out there, adding some more large, very expensive equipment. You'll need more space for that, and it will also it will also mean more employment at that level, at that location. So we're excited about that. I think you often hear about other Korean suppliers around the state expanding, and he has actually been expanding inside his existing facility by adding more equipment and some very expensive new equipment. And he's added some jobs. He just hadn't made any announcement about it. But this will require an addition to his building to be able to house this new equipment, which is some stamping and die equipment that he's going to be adding.
Just recently, it was mentioned that our neighboring city, City of Enterprise, just landed up to a 200 person job, and it was an automobile manufacturing plant, for the, I guess what they call them, tier, second, third tier spinoffs, and that's new to that community. But we've had, you say it.
Say Hey Sung.
Say Hey Sung, I'll get it. Say Hey Sung here for a number of years, and they've been putting those jobs in here as well. So we kind of had to jump on getting that 200 people or 200 person facility as far as employees long before the other city did.
Well, we've had them here now for 6 or 7 years, so yeah, we've had success with them, and they've done everything they said they were going to do. They've been very good corporate members of our community.
People are talking outside about businesses and places closing up in Andalusia over the past year or two. What do you say to that accusation?
Well, business is business. Business is open, business is closed. Businesses, the owners decide to retire and close their business. That happens, and it happens all over the country. That's just the routine. Let's talk about businesses that are opening in our community. And we got a long list of those. People who all they want to do is focus on the gloom and the doom, quite frankly, disturb me. I'd rather talk about the positive things in our community, and we got a lot of things to talk about, a lot of things to be proud of.
Well, Mayor, that's where I was kind of going with this, is that a majority of the businesses that have closed that I've looked into are due to retirement, health issues,
Right.
or to that effect. There's been a couple that were closed down through federal and state agencies for not performing within certain guidelines that they were supposed to. Those types of things you have no control over.
Businesses are going to open and businesses are going to close, and that's just the nature of business. If you look at those businesses, the ones that have recently closed, they closed for personal reasons, not because they weren't successful. They'd been successful, and they had been successful for a long, long time. It's kind of their business when they want to close, but there'll be somebody else in there. We've already, one that just closed here recently out on the bypass. I understand that the corporate company's going to come back in and open it up real soon. So, again, if folks can focus on the negative and try to point out what they think is a bad thing, it's really just routine business. And what I'm excited about are all the new things that we have coming to town. We've had 3 or 4 restaurants open in Andalusia in the last year. Tell me another time in the history of this city when we've had 3 or 4 restaurants open. And one of those being a huge investment of $1.5 million. So you're going to have that when you got 100 or something businesses in your town. You're going to have some opening and some closing. It's just the nature of the beast.
Especially with retail, because it's so, sensitive to the way things are. I've said it over and over again, even during the recession we've had over the past several years, Andalusia really has not felt the true impact of that recession.
We're not.
And
our sales, our revenue in the city has continued to go up. It continued to increase the whole time. Some of these people who are dwelling on the negative, if they get in their car and ride to any town within 100 miles of here and ride through it, they'll see empty buildings, just like they see in Andalusia. Probably more in most places than they would see in Andalusia, so certainly not something unique to Andalusia.
Mayor, as far as moving forward with the city now and things upcoming in the near future, I know you've got a lot of plans in the works for things happening, but do you see any growth? Well, let's jump on one more thing that's a very positive thing. I can't leave LBW out of this mix. They have come through big time. Dr. Rydell and the group over there have worked really hard to bring that up to, higher standards, and the chancellor is going to be here next week going through as well. What do you say as far as that kind of an icon in the community? How important is that?
Well, I see LBW as just another key partner in Andalusia's success in the future. And anything that they do out there to improve LBW improves Andalusia, improves this whole area, gives our young folks, and some not so young, the opportunity to get an education that they might not ever have the opportunity to get otherwise. So LBW is an important partner in our community, and Dr. Rydell has worked real hard since he's been here to make some changes, some needed changes, and show him some new programs out there, and he's going to be successful.
As far as what's the education infrastructure you have here in the city itself, there's been a lot of effort put into that as well.
Well, all you got to do is go look at the campuses. We've got a new indoor physical education practice facility, whatever you want to call it, weight room, locker rooms, state of the art for high school, I would say. The new junior high school, the 7th, 8th grade building is under construction, and it's going to be a beautiful addition to the campus over there. We'll have safe rooms in that new construction that will be able to house all of the students, not only in the 7th and 8th grade, but throughout their whole senior high school. In case of inclement weather, they'll be able to house those students in safe rooms. To me, that as grown folks, that's what we need to be doing, making sure our children are safe. A new 6th grade unit at the elementary school is well along its way, and will be open this fall for enrollment of the 6th grade. So a lot of progress in our education, and it goes deeper than just buildings. We got other things going on, other improvements in the education system. Our new superintendent and his staff are working really hard, and we're beginning to see the results of that.
Well, the public library just started renovations this past week. Another move forward to modernize.
Exactly. Our library is a key element of the city's operation, and it's incredible how much use it gets. So we're putting new carpet throughout, redoing the circulation desk and circulation area, and so modernizing it, making it more responsive to the needs of the community. So that's just one thing they didn't talk about very much, but that's an important role in our community as a library. And we got one of the best small libraries in the state.
Mayor, now we come to another part of the infrastructure of the community, and that is your local police department.
Right.
Some major changes took place over there. There is a lot of heat, a lot of pressure put on you in that department over the past few years. How is that working out?
Worked out very well so far. Our interim chief and interim assistant chief are working very well together to bring everyone together in that department, work well in working with outside departments like the Sheriff's Department, the Drug Task Force, and other law enforcement agencies in the area. And so far doing a very good job, I think. And they've got a long ways to go yet before they're where we need to be, but they're making giant steps, and I look forward to seeing that progress continue.
How does it feel now to be able to get along with the rest of the agencies in the community?
Well, I think we've always gotten along. We may have had a fuss now and then between some of the leadership, but I think our agencies have tried to work together, and but we're going to make sure that we do from this point forward.
Mayor, now it's your turn.
My
Anything-
turn.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Anything you want to add to this conversation?
Well, yeah, there's several things. I would say this, that Andalusia is on the move. And we've got a lot of projects that I can't even talk about yet because you can't publicly announce something until it's a done deal, but we've got some things out there in the future that we hope this year and next year will be coming forth with new businesses, new industries. We hope to get started on the South 39th Street project within the next 6 or 8 months, 9 months. And that's going to really be a tremendous improvement to the southeast part of town, going out Bruton Highway. So we're excited about that. And by the way, all these projects we're talking about, those are bringing dollars into our community. We got people working, earning paychecks, spending money in our community. And you start adding up these numbers, you got 25 or 30 million dollars that's being spent on just the schools and the South 39th Street project. And all that stuff's being, they're buying materials locally, they're hiring some local folks, and that money's going right back into our community. So that's a big economic engine in and of itself.
Well, Mayor, we appreciate you taking the time out for our viewers here on WKNI. Look forward to talking to you again soon. You have a blessed day.
Thank you.